Guys, Blackie for Shaman's Forage Bushcraft. Sitting out at the cabin today doing some stuff, and I'd like to discuss something with you so you know where this is coming from. Back probably 3 years ago, maybe 4 now, I became acquaintances with one of my subscribers named Mike, and I'll put a link to his site here. And Mike invited me to get onto a YouTube chat thing. I still don't understand how it works, but it's basically like a party line, you know, where we all sit and talk. And apparently he recorded them and put them onto YouTube as some sort of chat room or whatever. Blackie is not very versed in computers, as you can tell. But in there, I got to meet several people who had come to the party, so to speak, and we talked. And one of the gentlemen I got to meet was a very fine gentleman named William Collins. Now, William and I hit it off. He's from the great state of Texas, and I'm in Alabama, but we're both woodsmen, and we can tell that with each other. We both enjoy the outdoors, and we got a lot of similar interests and skills. And William is a custom knife maker. Well, over quite a few discussions that I've lost count of how many it is, we've talked both privately and in those chats about what made the best knife for a woodsman. Not necessarily, you know, the best off-the-shelf knife, but, and not necessarily we're going to start from ground one and design something, but every knife is a survival knife, if that's the only knife you got. Every knife is a good knife, given the situation. Every knife is the perfect knife for a given situation. And every knife is the dead wrong knife for another given situation. So in talking about that, and we have come up with quite a few little ideas all along. And William sent me a knife to eval because we had talked about, as you know, I love a Hickory. A big field knife that he'd come up with that I called the Beast. And I'll put a link to that video right here. Okay, from the Beast, you know, I enjoyed looking at it because I get a lot of people contacting me, you know, Blackie, would you look at my product and whatever, and I'm willing to look at anything, but I am not a gear review channel. That isn't my thing. But if you want my honest opinion because you're doing some R&D or whatever, yeah, I'll be willing to do it. And I'll be honest with you, 3/4 of things have received, you'll never hear about them because they were junk. I'm not going to badmouth anybody. They're trying. I understand what they're doing. But I can't stand up there and say, yeah, this is what I would use. You know, what I would give to you if I could. But that wasn't the case with William and a couple others. If I do a video on it, it's because I honestly got to believe in it. I really think so. I really think that it's a good piece of gear. And when William sent me that big old Beast, I could see that it wasn't a knife for me, but I could respect its design, I could see its purpose, and we talked about that. Well, flash forward to today. A few days ago, William contacted me and said that he is experimenting now with what is the best grind for a knife. Now, let me put it into English for people that don't get this. Grind is the angle that the edge is, that makes up the sharp edge of the knife. If you have a very broad, I used to call it chisel point, but I've been told that's wrong, we will say a very robust edge like that. Fairly thick knife, fairly robust edge. You have a knife that is very durable and strong, and you can chop with it, you can baton with it. That thick edge like that does not damage easily. The disadvantage, when you try to slice, it doesn't want to slice anything deeply. That shoulders out, and you end up kind of pushing it through, and it's a chore trying to, I mean, you can peel a cucumber, but slicing a cucumber, you're more or less just tearing it in half. See what I'm saying? On the other hand, a very thin edge profile is a joy to slice. It slices deeply, easy. Think of like an open L. Very thin blade that slices in very cleanly. Good for processing meat. Good for cutting things like that. Disadvantage, that thin edge is easily bent or rolled. At what point can you go from the thick, robust to the thin and possibly have the better qualities of both. You know it's a compromise. But what is the angle of that? That's what William's trying to do. And to do that, he generated a series of knives, different shapes, etc. And he asked some people around the bushcraft community to give him his honest opinion. I was very honored to be asked to do this because although I've never met William, I consider him a friend of mine. And I'm not looking at this just because William's trying to sell knives or trying to make things. I honestly believe that William is asking me for my honest opinion. And so I don't look at it like you're handing me a toaster to look at. I look at it that a friend of mine wants my input. So that's the way I'm approaching this. So let's look at what we're dealing with. What William and I talked about with the beast, we were talking about a tracker type design knife. More of a bowie, but tracker type grind back here. And what was the advantage of this? So remember that part right there. Put that knife right there. The other thing we was talking about is the knife I've been carrying now for 2.5, 3 years, the Condor bush lower. Good thick blade, good bevel on it, holds an edge real good, and it's robust enough that it doesn't roll easy. So for batoning, splitting, carving, and the woods jobs I do, it's my go-to knife. It's the one I've been using now for, like I said, it's my go-to knife. It has many strengths and a couple of weaknesses, but, you know, it's been my go-to knife. Then the old standby, old Hickory butcher knife. My favorite all-time knife for butchering game. That thin little blade, properly edged, just a razor and just goes through. Great for cleaning, great for processing the meat after you're done. Disadvantage, it's thin and it's a little weak in certain areas. But knowing its strengths, I can utilize them. And then finally, you know this had to be in there, a kukri design. Now when I did my Year of the Kukri challenge, this is the one I carried as a knife. It's big enough to be still a light duty kukri, and yet it was small enough I could use it as a knife. And so this swelling in the front, the pull right here, the angles, I learned what this knife was good for. So when William designed and created this knife to send to me, this is what he sent to me. This is a one-of-a-kind prototype. I'll get you up close, don't worry. It's 01 tool steel. It's got the very sculpted handle, which I absolutely love. It's got a nice thick spine on it, which is 90 degrees, so it'll do a ferro rod. It has the straight edge right here like a Tom Brown, and it has the drop swell right here like a kukri, and it has this drop point which can be used just like a butcher knife for skinning. So it's all of the above in one. Now, I can already hear you. What are we testing here is not the design. What we're testing here is the grind. The grind is the same all the way from beginning to end. And I'll let William explain that. I'll put a link to his video right here. And so now you know what we're trying to do. Now, the sheath William sent is this Kydex sheath. I only have had one other Kydex type sheath since I've been doing this, and that was the PVC sheath I made for the Tom Brown clone. First one I ever had, and I covered it in leather. And so I can see this as a great tactical, you know, hook it up. And it holds the knife absolutely secure. It ain't going nowhere. So this is going to stay. This becomes the pack sheath. When I'm throwing this knife in a pack, I want that. There's no doubt it ain't coming out. No matter what, that knife is going to stay in that sheath. But for me to carry in the field, happened to be looking around, and I found I had another one of the condor sheaths like my bush lore came out of. This one, the Dadgummit. Don't you just hate it when you have those moments? Kepart. My Kepart knife came in this sheath, and I replaced it because it was too loose. But this knife fits it perfect. Just perfectly stays. So this is how I'm going to carry it in the field initially. So here's what we're trying to find out. And you're going to see this knife a lot in upcoming videos because I plan to use it a great deal to give William an honest-to-God evaluation. How does the edge hold up? Can it be easily sharpened in the field? Is it good at slicing? Is it good at shelter building? Can I do feather sticks with it? Can I baton with it? Can I hog bark off with it? What's it good at? What's it not good at? We're going to call this little thing the prototype challenge. I'm going to use this prototype for everything, and I'll do updates, and I'll tell you what I think of it at each stage. If I discover something it does really, really well, I'm going to tell you. If I discover something it's not good at, I'm going to tell you that too. We're not looking at the design of the knife. We're looking at the grind, that angle. How does it do? The design of the knife I love. If I was going to sit there and come up with one, that's it. That's perfect for a southern woodsman like me. I can see that right there for cleaning fish. The back edge, that's perfect for scaling fish. It feels so light and handy, and it's quality. I mean, William makes a damn fine knife, and that is high quality right there. Don't you sting me. That is a high quality knife, and I know it. And I am truly grateful, William, that you chose me to try this design out. So with that said, I'm Blackie for Shaman's Forge Bushcraft. Wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.